Chumlee's life has always played out in front of millions, but behind the light-hearted TV persona was someone fighting a quieter battle. Away from the cameras, he struggled with his health, endless cycles of dieting, gaining weight back, and feeling stuck in frustration. At one point, the scale climbed to 350 pounds, forcing him to make a life-altering decision. And now, the latest about Chumlee is once again breaking headlines. Chumlee's story starts in Henderson, Nevada, where he was born Austin Lee Russell on September 8, 1982. He grew up as one of 3 children, alongside his brother Sage and sister Tara, with a family background that blended Mexican, Scottish, and Native American roots. The nickname that made him famous came early. At just 12 years old, a family friend's father thought young Austin looked like Chumlee the Walrus from the old cartoon Tennessee Tuxedo. The joke stuck, and before long, Austin embraced it himself. He started introducing himself as Chumlee, later laughing at the fact that the character he was compared to was the goofy, dim-witted sidekick. Long before television fame, Chumlee had already planted roots at the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop. His lifelong friendship with Corey Big Hoss Harrison connected him directly to the Harrison family, who founded the shop back in 1989. Spending his childhood around Corey and the pawn world, Chumlee naturally slid into working there in his 20s. Even before cameras started rolling, Chumlee had a reputation as the unpredictable one in the shop. One story in particular became legendary. A customer had pawned an upright bass for around $700, planning to return for it later. Unfortunately, Chumlee leaned the rare instrument against a shelf, walked off, and watched it crash to the floor, shattering beyond repair. The replacement cost? An eye-popping $20,000. When asked what happened, all Chumlee could say was that he didn't know what he was thinking. That single blunder followed him online, with fans debating whether his on-screen antics were really just an act. By the time the History Channel came looking for a cast to bring the pawn shop to life on screen, Chumlee had already been working there for 5 years. When producers needed a 4th personality to join Rick, Corey, and Richard Oldman Harrison, Chumlee saw an opening. Out of about a dozen employees, he was the one who stepped forward. He later explained that he knew what the show needed. The Harrisons had expertise and sharp business instincts, but what would keep viewers hooked was humor. Chumlee decided to be the comic relief, the one who could take the jokes and play off the family's banter. He leaned on the natural camaraderie he already had with the Harrisons, treating the cameras like they weren't even there. That choice paid off. He became one of the most recognizable faces of Pawn Stars. Beneath the humor, though, Chumlee carries personal moments that mean more than any deal on the counter. His father, a skilled woodworker, passed away from pancreatic cancer just 2 weeks before Pawn Stars premiered in 2009. The items his dad made remain priceless to him, and he has said they are the one thing he would never pawn. Pawn Stars premiered on July 19, 2009, and almost overnight, it turned into a television sensation. Audiences weren't just hooked on the fascinating backstories of rare artifacts and quirky collectibles. They also loved the big personalities and constant behind-the-counter drama. And at the heart of it all, often the punchline, but always the comic relief, was Chumlee. As the years rolled on, other cast members started to evolve in front of the cameras. Corey Harrison is the perfect example. Audiences watched him grow from a green, inexperienced worker into a sharp, knowledgeable member of the business. He matured, made fewer errors, and took on more responsibility. Chumlee, however, remained largely the same in the eyes of the viewers. He continued to play the role of the clumsy novice, delivering a comedic blunder whenever the show needed one. Over time, that image began to feel repetitive. This is exactly what sparked a heated discussion online. On Reddit, one user, Commodore Blair 89, voiced frustration with Chumlee's unruly on-screen behavior. Fans quickly pushed back, reminding others that much of Pawn Stars is scripted and his antics were part of the act. Still, the thread soon filled with wider complaints about how the show chose to portray him. One user, Ardvarkandi, pointed out that Chumlee often asked for more responsibility, but those requests were typically laughed off. They wished the show highlighted his strengths instead of brushing them aside. Another fan, The Real Tina, added that the show sometimes contradicted itself, making him look clueless in one moment and then showcasing his surprising knowledge of obscure items in the next. As she put it, the inconsistency left him stuck in an odd limbo. Either he was an idiot or he wasn't. That contradiction has followed Chumlee for years. While his reputation is built around being the lovable fool, there have been countless moments where his genuine knowledge shines through. Unfortunately, the show rarely lets him move beyond the goofy persona that made him famous. Outside of the cameras, though, Chumlee has proven himself more capable than many give him credit for. In fact, he once admitted in an interview that he had been duped plenty of times early in his career. He recalled working late-night shifts at the pawn shop, where shady Rolex deals tested his judgment. At first, he was quick to trust, buying several fakes before realizing he needed to either wake Corey or Rick for permission in the middle of the night, or simply pass on the deal. It was a costly lesson, but he described it as his real education in pawnbroking. Meanwhile, Corey had a head start, having grown up in the business, which spared him from making the same mistakes. Chumlee's candor in admitting these early blunders makes him relatable, and moments like these remind fans that he's more than just comic relief. Even Rick Harrison, the shop's seasoned leader, isn't immune to mistakes. In one episode, Rick ignored Chumlee's warning about a set of Norman Rockwell dolls and dropped $300 on them, only to learn they were worth about $250. For once, the tables had turned. Instead of being the one caught in a mistake, Chumlee got to savor the rare moment of being right, while his boss took the loss. He later admitted it felt good, not because of the money, but because it proved that even Rick wasn't perfect. In a business built on deals and risks, errors are inevitable, but this time, the spotlight was on someone else. For Chumlee, it was a chance to shed the comic relief label and show he could hold his own. Yet, away from the shop's cameras, his life was about to take a dramatic and dangerous turn. Known for being the unpredictable character of the show, Chumlee suddenly found himself caught up in a headline-making incident that played out right in the heart of Hollywood. The chaos unfolded on Hollywood Boulevard one weekend, where Chumlee was spotted with friends standing beside his Rolls-Royce. Out of nowhere, a man approached the group, demanding a ride in the car. When they refused, things escalated quickly. According to Chumlee, the stranger became aggressive, harassing the group and even threatening to pull a gun. That threat was all it took to spark a violent confrontation. When the man reached for his pocket, one of Chumlee's friends struck first, landing a powerful punch that dropped him instantly to the pavement. With the man left dazed and bleeding heavily from the face, Chumlee and his crew jumped back into the Rolls-Royce and sped off. The video of the incident spread fast, showing the bloody aftermath as the victim tried to pull himself together on the ground. Chumlee maintained that it was pure self-defense, insisting that the stranger had instigated the entire situation. What became of the man afterward, however, was never made clear, leaving a shadow of uncertainty over the whole ordeal. If that wasn't strange enough, Chumlee's name would be dragged into the headlines again, this time for something completely different: death hoaxes. While celebrity death rumors float around the internet all the time, for some reason, stories about Chumlee's supposed passing always seemed to catch fire. The first major rumor surfaced in 2013, when a questionable site claimed he had died from a marijuana overdose. Not only was the story fabricated, but the cause itself was scientifically impossible. Less than a year later, another false report surfaced, this time alleging that Chumlee had died from a heart attack. The irony was almost laughable, considering he was actively focused on dieting and working out at the time, shedding weight and improving his health. Rather than dwell on the absurdity, Chumlee shrugged it all off in his own style, showing everyone that despite the gossip and the drama, he was still standing and moving forward. But as unbelievable as those stories sounded, they were nothing compared to what would happen next. In March 2016, things took a dramatic turn for Chumlee when Las Vegas police showed up at his home. The raid was triggered by a sexual assault complaint, but once officers got inside, they found far more than they expected. Reports described the scene almost like something out of a celebrity scandal playbook. Inside his home was a space known as the Chum Room, complete with a stripper pole. But it wasn't just for show. Police found a baggie with white residue and a rolled-up dollar bill with traces of powder. The details stopped short of an official explanation, but the discoveries left plenty of room for speculation. The deeper police dug, the more troubling things became. What was supposed to be a single firearm quickly turned into a dozen, with several of them loaded and only a few properly registered. Alongside the weapons, officers uncovered and paraphernalia in quantities that looked less like casual use and more like what you'd expect from someone packaging and selling substances. During the search, investigators came across two areas of interest: a small safe in the master bedroom and a much larger vault downstairs. Chumlee's assistant opened the smaller safe without hesitation, but when it came to the vault, Chumlee was resistant. He insisted it contained private belongings and tried to avoid handing over the combination. Police reminded him that the search warrant gave them full authority, so he eventually admitted that it held marijuana and guns. He confessed to smoking heavily and claimed the stash inside was strictly for personal use. Trying to show cooperation, he opened the vault himself. Inside, police confirmed what he had said: firearms and paraphernalia. But this admission raised another problem. Under Nevada law, anyone identified as an unlawful user is prohibited from owning or possessing firearms. Since Chumlee admitted to being a heavy marijuana smoker, detectives secured what's known as a piggyback warrant to seize his guns. The report went even further. Methamphetamine was found in his bedroom, along with marijuana and large amounts of paraphernalia. To the police, it painted the picture of someone involved in more than just personal use. Digital scales, baggies, and various controlled substances pointed toward possible distribution. Investigators also tied everything directly back to him, as both the bedroom and vault contained personal belongings, clearly identifying ownership. The arrest that followed was serious. Chumlee was booked into the Clark County Detention Center and faced an overwhelming list of charges: possession of methamphetamine, possession of marijuana over 1 ounce, 17 counts tied to different controlled substances, and a weapons charge for being a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. The weight of the evidence only made things more serious. Detectives worked closely with the district attorney to push the case forward, even securing a warrant for Chumlee's blood to see if he'd been under the influence when he was arrested. In the end, police announced he was staring down 19 charges and 1 weapons charge. Still, Chumlee didn't remain locked up for long. He posted a steep $62,000 bail and walked out, though his freedom was far from guaranteed. His lawyer, David Chesnoff, told the press they were ready to challenge the charges, stressing that they expected a truthful conclusion once the case unfolded in court. The next key date on the calendar was May 23, 2016. That's when Russell was expected back in court, a moment many believed would give a clearer picture of how much prison time he might actually face. Legal experts weighing in through outlets like Hollywood Life speculated that, with 20 different charges stacked against him, the maximum sentence could reach up to 80 years. While that number sounded extreme, it underscored just how serious the situation really was. But behind the charges, the bigger cloud hanging over Russell's head was the sexual assault complaint that triggered the raid on his home in the first place. The woman who filed it remained unidentified, and while Russell had not been charged with anything tied to that complaint, police made it clear the investigation was still active. According to the official police report cited by USA Today, investigators seized multiple items from his home, including clothing, bedding, and even a DNA sample. Chesnoff added that his client was prepared to fight any future sexual assault charges if they came up. If those charges ever became official, Russell's legal troubles could multiply dramatically. Meanwhile, the History Channel kept quiet. The network made no public comment about whether Russell would continue appearing on Porn Stars. Sources close to the network told People magazine they were simply waiting for the justice system to run its course. And since production wasn't actively filming new episodes, the show already had plenty of material banked, there was no urgent need to make a decision. That didn't mean a decision wouldn't come. If Russell were convicted, cutting ties would be the obvious path forward. Networks have walked this road before, and scandals of this magnitude tend to force their hand. Even without a conviction, the arrest alone, 20 charges on paper, gave history plenty of reason to distance itself from one of its biggest stars. And if sexual assault charges were ever filed, it was almost guaranteed the network would release a statement and sever the relationship entirely. This put history in a delicate position. Porn Stars had been a massive success since its 2009 debut, pulling in consistently high ratings and becoming one of the network's signature programs. Russell, with his comedic personality, had been a key part of that formula. Now, the scandal surrounding him threatened to jeopardize the entire show. If the charges stuck, history could choose a simple fix: phase Russell out, explain his absence briefly to viewers, and carry on with the remaining cast, or even bring in fresh faces. That solution might work for the charges, but the sexual assault allegations carried a different weight altogether. Other networks had faced that reality, and the results had been devastating. TLC, for example, abruptly cancelled Here Comes Honey Boo Boo after disturbing revelations about Mama June's relationship with a convicted offender. The same network also cut 19 Kids and Counting after Josh Duggar's abuse scandal came to light. History had seen this play out before. The cautious move would have been to keep quiet, let things unfold, and wait for the courts to decide. But instead of risking a full trial, Chumlee took a different path, a plea deal that completely shifted the direction of his case. Under the agreement, he admitted to a felony weapons charge, unlawful possession of a firearm, along with a gross misdemeanor for attempted possession. The deal kept him out of prison, but it came with conditions: 3 years of probation and mandatory counseling. The deal came with a clear warning: if he violated the terms of probation, he faced 2 to 5 years behind bars. On the flip side, if he managed to stay out of trouble through 2019, the felony would be wiped away, leaving only the misdemeanor conviction on his record. It was a second chance, but one that required discipline. His attorney, David Chesnoff, publicly expressed relief at the resolution, saying it was the product of careful consideration by both sides. Importantly, the sexual assault complaint, the very issue that had originally triggered the police raid, did not result in any charges. Authorities confirmed that Chumlee had been cleared on that front. The details of the counseling requirement weren't fully outlined, though records linked the agreement to a local social worker whose specialties included treating sex offenders. Beyond that, the court demanded that Chumlee surrender all of his drugs and weapons. This was no small stash. Officers had confiscated nearly 5 ounces of marijuana, much of it in jars and plastic bags, including a single Ziploc that alone held over 4 ounces. They also reported finding Xanax and methamphetamine. As for the firearms, the collection was extensive, ranging from standard handguns to a shotgun and high-powered rifles, including an MP5 and a 223 caliber rifle, some of which were not registered. Chesnoff maintained that none of the weapons were kept for criminal purposes and acknowledged that Chumlee understood marijuana use was still illegal under state law, except under certain conditions. Despite the headlines, Chumlee managed to hold on to his spot on Pawn Stars. Even while the network's decision was uncertain, his co-workers rallied around him. Rick Harrison, both his boss and co-star, told reporters the shop was standing by him. Corey Harrison took a quieter approach, posting cryptic but pointed messages on Instagram about loyalty, truth, and Nevada's flexible gun registration laws. For Chumlee, the deal came with a clear message: stay out of trouble, and the most damaging charges would be wiped away. The sexual assault allegations that first triggered the investigation had already been dropped, leaving him facing probation, counseling, and what many saw as a lucky break from prison time. But instead of fading from the spotlight in shame, Chumlee surprised everyone once more. Only this time, it was for all the right reasons. In 2022, Chumlee from Pawn Stars shared something that shocked fans: his incredible weight loss. Austin Lee Russell, better known by his nickname Chumlee, revealed that he had dropped a staggering 160 pounds. For years, he had struggled with his weight, so this transformation marked one of the biggest personal wins of his life. Chumlee had been part of Pawn Stars since it first aired in 2009, appearing alongside Richard Oldman Harrison, Rick Harrison, and Corey Big Hoss Harrison. Over the years, viewers saw his weight rise and fall, but in time, he reached a breaking point. In an interview with TMZ, he explained that he was simply tired of the constant battle. That frustration pushed him to commit to finally making a lasting change. His decision didn't come out of nowhere. His longtime friend and co-star Corey Harrison had already paved the way, shedding nearly 200 pounds through a mix of lap band surgery, diet, and exercise. Chumlee admitted to People magazine that watching Corey's transformation lit the fire for his own journey. He said it was time to get healthy, noting that he had gone from 320 pounds down to 225. At first, he leaned on natural methods. He drastically cut processed foods and focused on moderation. But by 2019, after years of yo-yo dieting that sometimes saw him swing by as much as 100 pounds, he reached a peak of 350. That was the moment he decided to take a more permanent step. In January of that year, he revealed that he had undergone gastric sleeve surgery at a bariatric clinic in Las Vegas. The procedure removed most of his stomach, leaving behind a small pouch that drastically reduced his appetite. Chumlee later explained that it gave him dramatic results almost instantly. From that peak weight of 350, he eventually dropped to around 190. But he also made it clear, surgery was only a tool. His love for food was real, and the mental side of managing those cravings would always be a challenge. To keep the weight off, he committed to a healthier diet, regular workouts, and an entirely new lifestyle. He also began sharing his journey publicly, posting before and after photos and writing messages to fans about his transformation. On Facebook, he celebrated losing over 150 pounds and encouraged others who struggled with weight to fight for their own health. On Instagram, he showed off his new outlook, posting motivational captions and even engaging with fans who were on their own journeys. The changes went beyond the scale. His new weight opened doors to activities that were once impossible. He was even able to ride a hovercraft, something he couldn't try before because he was over the manufacturer's weight limit. While his dramatic weight loss became visible as early as 2021, the impact stretched far beyond appearances. It reshaped his health, his mindset, and his entire approach to life. In many ways, it was a rebirth, and as his body transformed, so did his presence. After years of scandals and noise, he grew quieter on social media, focusing more on health, motivation, and the simple freedom his weight loss had given him. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, comment, and turn on post notifications to stay updated with our latest content.